It's like winning.
When was the last time you used?
I use a blender. I use a vacuum cleaner. I use, household items. When was the last time I ingested or took drugs?
Yes. When was the last time you took drugs?
Such an AA stupid expression or term. I don't.
Hello and welcome to the Sobriety Bestie podcast. I'm super stoked you're here for another great episode. Today we're looking at Charlie Sheen, his sobriety, and his views on Alcoholics Anonymous. Maybe you've seen this interview before. This is the infamous interview he did in 2011 where he's talking about winning, having tiger's blood, and right here, he is saying that he doesn't like some of the terms in AA. Charlie Sheen has recently published his book, The Book of Sheen, and also at the same time a documentary movie on Netflix. So I wanted to unpack here today his views on Alcoholics Anonymous. This one I'm actually excited about because normally when celebrities talk about Alcoholics Anonymous, it's like propaganda and it's pro-AA without being honest. And one of the things that I enjoy about Charlie Sheen is that he seems that he's pretty genuine, and I really appreciate that. He also was recently on the Joe Rogan podcast, so we'll also look at that interview. We're actually going to start with it. The first part of this video will be a reaction to Charlie Sheen on the Joe Rogan podcast on September 11th, 2025. And then we'll look at Charlie Sheen's book and how he talks about his sobriety and relationship with Alcoholics Anonymous.
That's a great accomplishment of being sober for almost 8 years. It really is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, it's, people are going to yell at me because of how I deal with the AA and the book, and that's fine. I just speak to my personal experiences. I'm not.
How do you deal?
I love this. He's so right. People will yell at you if you're honest about your own thoughts about Alcoholics Anonymous.
That I tried it for a long time. I for a combined 21 years. And just decided that I had to give this a go on my own.
So he tried AA for 21 years and decided to give it a go on his own. I think his sobriety date is coming up on 8 years in December, and it is without Alcoholics Anonymous.
Just do it completely on your own. You don't have any person you call or any...
No. I mean, there's people that are sober that I still talk to and see.
You don't have a sponsor or something like that?
I don't. No.
I know it does help some people.
Of course. And that's why I don't want to say that I'm not recommending that this is another.
Right. But you're just saying your truth. This is how you do it. Yeah. I had a very good friend who was an alcoholic who quit. One day he crashed his car, ran from the cops on foot, got arrested. And then he's like, what am I doing with my life? I'm done. He quit.
That day.
I never had a drink again. I knew him for 20 years after that.
It happens.
Most people actually quit from what's called spontaneous remission, which is like how Joe's describing his friend quit.
It can happen. Yeah. But I think that I do have the experience of all of that time in and around the rooms. And that's not to say that I don't still remember a couple of nuggets, a couple of things that still stuck with me that I still thought you'd still see as valuable.
Right.
But
I agree with him. There's definitely valuable things within that I heard in AA or that are inside AA ideology. It's not all bad, and it's certainly not all good. And earlier when Joe was saying, like, you don't have like a sponsor or anything, the idea of sponsorship is literally Bill Wilson is pitching his program, right? His sales pitch, basically, he's selling God. It is essentially a cult religion. And the 12 steps are designed to access you to a higher power. He essentially borrowed them, took them, rebranded them from the Oxford group, which was a cult religion back in the 1930s. And then Bill positioned them for recovery and took the religious steps from that other religion. And so, no, the idea of sponsorship is unique to Alcoholics Anonymous. Culture has it in our heads because of AA was really good about getting their ideas, selling the American culture and global culture on their ideas of what recovery is supposed to look like. But the sponsorship model is really built-in recruitment. So if you're constantly looking for a newcomer so that you can stay sober, you're constantly recruiting for Alcoholics Anonymous. You're perpetuating the system. And so Bill positioned it as you need to keep recruiting for AA, and that's what's going to keep you sober. but there is no other recovery program out there where the model is based on you have to recruit for that program, free labor, unpaid labor, that you need to recruit for that program in order for you to get the results of meaning staying sober. So sponsorship is not a normal route to recovery. It's not normally required. It's just it got common in our mind because AA infiltrated society like culture, in my view.
There's a line in the book that it's hard to ask for help when somebody else has raised your hand for you. You know, interventions, you're pulled into a thing, told to do this, you're just all you're doing is just counting the days.
Yeah, that's a part of the documentary too. When the first intervention, when you got brought into a room and everybody's sitting there waiting for you, you thought it was a party.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was a little suspicious because it's 9 a.m. Why is Dad having a 9 a.m. birthday party?
Right.
Unless we're going to Magic Mountain, right? That's usually the time you leave.
Right.
That's usually for a 7-year-old, right?
Right.
Yeah, no, that was wild. That is something that I can still see as it happened on the day.
Really?
Turning that corner in the hallway into my parents' living room my brain is still trying to turn it into a birthday party. My brain, I insist.
I'm so curious. Did you have an intervention? Is that part of what got you sober? Did you have an intervention? Did it work? Was it helpful? What do you think about interventions? Let us know in the comments. I didn't have an intervention. I signed up for rehab on my own, with the help of a friend. But let us know what you think about interventions in the comments. That'd be a fun conversation to read, to be a part of.
That's what we're there for. You know?
That's funny.
And when it starts to dawn on you, like, have you ever taken a sip of something that was in the wrong bottle? Mm-hmm. But your brain saw the label, and so it takes your body
like a half a second,
to catch up to that's not. Those don't match. Those don't match.
Yeah. So that one didn't work. It didn't work that way. You had to do it on your own.
It worked for a year. It worked for a year, but then, like as is in the doc, I'm at Cage's house, and I on the anniversary, on the 1 year, I find that beer in his fridge. I'm like, well, that's there for a reason. Yeah, just cause to celebrate. That's not an accident. Yeah, and just didn't even think twice.
Wow.
Just was like, finally, boom,
and now we're off to the races.
We're off to the races. Yeah.
Wow. How did you get sober this time?
I'd gotten off the drugs, gotten off the dope. When I say dope, that's always coke. Never heroin. Never a heroin guy. I'd been off that, probably over 10 years, you know? And so, I mean, more than 10 years, like sitting here today. So I hadn't fucked around with any of that shit for a few years. I just committed to drinking, you know? And then found that to be like the most unmanageable drug that I've ever tried to navigate. Drinking, yeah. Drinking.
More than cocaine.
Yeah, because there's never a time when you can't get it, you know? And when I had made the decision that I'm just going to drink, I treated it like I did drugs, you know?
Right,
yeah.
Right.
But it's really kind of, it's very accepted. And it's very socially ingrained. You know, it's like it's
normal.
It's always Miller time.
Yeah, you want to smoke a joint in front of someone, they might be like, "Hey, what's going on here?"
Yeah,
you want to have a drink in front of someone, completely normal. Everyone does it.
Sure. Yeah. But so I knew the way my body was starting to react and the way I was starting to feel and just I couldn't feel it how I used to. Even at like really like powerful doses, you know, I just couldn't. And that got depressing. That wasn't like, I'll just drink twice as much now. That was like, damn. The thing I relied on is now just like told me,
you
have too
much of a tolerance.
Our relationship is now different. You know? Yeah. And so there was a day, and it's in the book, and I was a morning drinker. I loved, spiking my coffee. That's like, for me, it was like the best time to drink. I mean, you're not going to get shit done the rest of the day, but that's when I felt it. That's when I could still feel it was in the morning, you know? So I'm on like my third Macallan coffee or whatever, and My daughter Sam, like, calls from, she's at the house and calls and says, "Hey, what time are we leaving?" I'm like, to go where? She had a hair appointment, and it was a Sunday, I think, or a Saturday. And I've never, ever mixed the cops and the wheel, ever. I've never had a DUI. How about that?
That's awesome.
That's pretty good, right?
That's very good.
I just decided, like, a long time ago, like when I was like 17, that
Very
was
smart.
never going to happen.
Good for you.
And I was living in a limo back then. There was, the occasional cab. But these days to get busted for drinking and driving with the available transportation,
Right.
it is literally 15 choices in your hand.
Right.
There's no excuse.
Right.
And so I called Tony. I said, "Tony, I can't drive. You got to help me get Sam to this thing." And so he was like, "I'll be right there in 20 minutes." We got her to the appointment. It went great. And there was a moment in the car driving back, and I describe it in the book, and I could see her in two mirrors, the visor and the side view, and she was just kind of sitting back there. And I'm not saying that I know exactly what she was thinking, but I could feel what I'm pretty sure she was. And it was just this thing about, why it's cool that Dad did this, but why isn't Dad driving again?
Right.
Why is there always
disappointment?
Yeah. And it's nothing with Tony. Yeah.
Right.
He's been around forever, and it was, so we got back from that, and it was there was something that I couldn't shake. It was something that stayed with me. Just the images of her, this little 13-year-old kid in the back seat, and her dad can't even take her to just a basic, just like a highway to a hair appointment. That was complicated, Yeah. And I was like, what am I doing? And then I just sat inside. I sat inside of that for a while, because it didn't feel good. And I
feel like this is so relatable, like having a moment at the end of our drinking where what we're doing isn't working for us anymore. I know for me, I literally had a feeling where it was like, I can't keep doing this. And it was as silly as it was the very final thing was same thing as him. I woke up so hungover and anxious that I was drinking in the morning. And then because I was drinking in the morning, I couldn't drive to my roommate's, who was my best friend, to her dad's birthday party that day. And so I had to cancel because I was literally unfit to drive. And I just felt like I can't keep missing out on life and not showing up. And that was the final straw. It had been, the entire prior month and years leading up to that were a lot of things. But the final straw was like, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep doing this. So I really relate to what Charlie Sheen is saying here. And I'm curious, was it like that for you when you quit drinking, or any addiction really, where at the end it's like, you just can't keep going the way that it's been going anymore? And it might have even seemed like something insignificant compared to big, huge other things that were occurring or had occurred before that. And there's just like the straw, I guess, that breaks the camel back. So I don't know, I really relate to that. And also it's interesting is when he's talking before about how it didn't stick before when he had the intervention and he got sober for 1 year. And on his 1-year sobriety birthday, he's slept over at Nicolas Cage's house, opens up the fridge. There's a Foster's beer in there and drinks the beer. Well, he says a little more of that in his book, but that he drinks on his 1-year sobriety birthday. He didn't want to get sober. He didn't have a moment where it was like, he can't do this anymore. He got sober because there was an intervention, because other people raised, like, as he said, other people raised his hand for him. So there's really something to that, I think, that we got to decide if we're going to make a major change, like getting sober, which is incredibly difficult for a lot of us, it was for me, it has to really come from inside.
I thought, okay, what can I do to stop feeling like this? The math is pretty simple at that point,
Yeah.
And it wasn't going to do rehab. I wasn't going to do a big, dramatic, life turnaround, or I was just going to make a decision and stick to it.
Mm-hmm.
And, I took a few.
I love it. He's just going to make a decision and stick to it. This is all up in the, I don't know. This is kind of like Alan Carr's, I have it. Alan Carr's The Easy Way to Quit Drinking Without Willpower. It's like, become a happy non-drinker. Like, just make the decision. You want a life without alcohol. Like, think about what it is that you want, or even like rational recovery. I've already done videos on Alan Carr's The Easy Way to Quit Drinking. I'll put that up here if you want to check that out. I really like that book, especially if you're in the process right now of getting sober and something like AA didn't work for you, or whatever you've been doing hasn't been working for you. Also, if you want to learn more about rational recovery, I really love that book. I definitely recommend Rational Recovery for anybody. I read it recently, and this month is going to be 16 years since I've had a drink, but I still got a lot of value from it. So I'm not trying to get sober. I'm not trying to stay sober. I am sober, but it helped wake me up to even better ways to be more skillful with my own thinking. So if you want to learn more about rational recovery, I'll put my book review of that up here. Check that out. Yeah.
Valium, drank a few beers, and then the next day just woke up and said, I'm done, and didn't care. I made a decision. I wasn't going to care how I felt physically. I was just going to just
grit and bear it.
Yeah.
How long did it take before you felt okay?
About 3 days. The story I had written that was going to be a month was just like that was fake. And then just coincidentally, it happened to be my oldest daughter, Cassandra's birthday when I quit. It was December 12th, It was just like, okay, that's all aligned. And then something else happened after that, because everybody's going to get a little squirrely. This is the post, already had HIV for several years at this point. I get a call that there's a new medicine, right? And they're like, look, we want you to try this thing because it's a much smaller cocktail. It's much less toxicity and no, very few side effects. We think you're going to do great on it, right? They said, but you can't drink on it. The other one, you could drink your fucking face off. You could drink like a pirate on the other one, which they shouldn't have told me that you can, And so I said, okay, great. So I tried that one. And it was working great. But they said, okay, if you can just stay off the booze, it's going to keep working like it is, So then this other thing showed up in addition to that, just in concert with it. So now I had a couple things going on.
I love this. This is it really reminds me of Alan Carr's Easy Way to Quit Drinking, or Alan Carr's Quit Drinking Without Willpower, where you're reaching for what you want instead of what you don't want. So instead of thinking about how you're being deprived from drinking and missing out on it, you're reaching for what you do want. In this case, he wants to be on his HIV meds, which he can't drink on. He likes that his daughter's birthday is a sobriety birthday. He's liking what he gets from sobriety, so he doesn't have this desire anymore. His desire is for what he gets when he's not drinking. So we lose our desire to drink, according to Alan Carr's Easy Way to Quit Drinking, or Quitting Drinking Without Willpower, by desiring the benefits of sobriety. I really like that. And let me know what you think about that in the comments for sure. All right, let's now dive into Charlie Sheen's new book, which came out on September 9th, 2025. It is called The Book of Sheen. I read this book, and I want to tell you all about the parts of it where he's talking about getting sober and his thoughts on Alcoholics Anonymous. For me, I feel like he's the first celebrity who's really just been super honest about what he thinks about AA. I find it incredibly refreshing. Whether you like him or not or whatever, I really appreciate that he's being honest AF with his thoughts on Alcoholics Anonymous. So his introduction to AA, he was court ordered there, actually. His introduction to AA, which is chapter 24 of his book, was on day 4 in rehab. The meeting was in a hospital cafeteria. He said that he was scared to say too much in the meeting, but when he did, it felt like the whole room was responding in pre-packaged responses that felt robotic and cultish. And that the book that they were reading, which is the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, the book they were reading from was terrible. And he noticed that the book couldn't make it 2 sentences without mentioning God. Yes, he noticed it's a religion. I think all of us know that AA is a religion when we get there, or that it's all about God. And then we get gaslit into it's spiritual, not religious. He mentioned he felt trapped and tricked, like he was being indoctrinated against his will. He was wondering, where was the mention of any of this in my intervention? He's feeling like he's being culted, and that's because that's what it is. There was prayer at the beginning of the meeting and at the end of the meeting, and everybody seemed to laugh on cue. If you've been to AA meetings, then you know exactly. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. And then the speakers, as they were talking about drinking and doing drugs, he felt like he wanted to go out and drink and do exactly what they were talking about. So it was triggering to him. He felt it was a very strange method to make fantastical claims of a solution. He has so much colorful language and metaphors in his book. He said AA was like being yanked off the street and thrown into a van and taken to a place where you eat mangoes, because mangoes are the only answer they tell you. Like AA tells us that AA is the only answer, that God's the only answer. They told him the solution to everything that he was dealing with can be found in the AA book. This is exactly what I was told. What were you told? Let us know in the comments. I was told my only problem I could ever have in life is that I'm an alcoholic. Alcoholism is my only problem. And that the only solution I will ever need for any problem I ever have in my entire life is the 12 steps of alcoholics. My sponsor, it's debatable whether, we think sponsors are cult leaders or not, right? Because they can be quite controlling. But my sponsor told me that essentially if I didn't take her suggestions, I was going to die. That's pretty much AA ideology for a lot of us. This is one of the things that bothers me the most about AA is how far off we can be put from actually solving what's going on with us, whether it is trauma, whether it's underlying mental health conditions, whether it's something else that maybe we need medication for or therapy for or some sort of professional services. There's a lot of support out there for us, especially in 2025. And to be told that he's told the solution to everything he's dealing with can be found in the AA Big Book. It is literally a religious text. This is absolutely a lie. And it can be harmful, and there's people who actually unalive themselves as a result of believing this baloney. It sounds like Charlie Sheen he was not sold on that the AA is the way, obviously. He asked, how is that possible that all the solutions to all these problems are in the book? And he asked for a backup plan if the book didn't work. He said he was constantly told that AA was the only answer if he wanted to be sane and free. This is obviously not true. This is coercive control at its finest. I know this is Charlie Sheen's experience. I had like a very similar experience. Everyone's going to have a variety of experiences who goes to AA. The meetings are going to vary. The sponsors are going to vary. The text and the ideology is the same. It's just how is it implemented varies, right? They were telling him that he needed, quote, a lifetime membership to their medieval gibberish club, so he could keep feeling the exact opposite of what they promised. A lot of y'all have mentioned in the comments that you felt worse after going to AA meetings, that AA is promising one thing, happy, joyous, free, yada, yada, and you are actually receiving the opposite, that AA was making your mental health or your life worse. This is his experience too. And so Charlie asked about other methods to the AA people that he was speaking with, and they said, he said his queries were perceived as threats until he was branded a denialist. I have seen that exact same thing happening in AA, where if you ask about other methods, yes, that's perceived as a threat or dangerous, and then you get branded a denialist. I was branded a denialist when I was new and I was asking about other methods, or I don't want God, or I'm not sure if I really have a problem with alcohol. We get branded as denialists for doubting, so our doubt of the program, which is natural and healthy, is pathologized as part of our so-called disease, which is really an idea of Bill Wilson and Dr. Silkworth from the 1930s, and not a reality of what alcohol addiction is considered to be today. So throughout the book, he goes in other chapters, he talks about, so he went to rehab, right, a couple of times. He went to Promises. He left there in 1998. He went to like a Friday night men's meeting. He also, Matt Perry, he didn't know him very well, but he went to a meeting at Matt Perry's, had a meeting at his condo apparently. So yeah, he did AA meetings, and he ended up meeting somebody at Matt Perry's house, I think, at like a sober-ish kind of a party, who was also sober. And then I guess they started using drugs again. And that was his third marriage. And then as he's talking about here on the Joe Rogan podcast, when he got sober this time, he created something at his house. He called it the Sober Valley Lodge, where he didn't want to go to treatment again. He didn't want to go to AA. He didn't want to do any of that stuff. He just wanted to do it on his own. So he called his home the Sober Valley Lodge, and he got sober that way. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways to get sober. I loved hearing how Charlie Sheen got sober for a couple of reasons. Number one, because he was really honest. And I feel like most people are like AA apologists or won't actually tell the truth about what they think about AA because they're afraid of the backlash. I appreciate his candor. I appreciate his willingness to take the daggers if they come his way and just speak his truth. I think that that's rare. And so I really appreciate that about him. Also, he's kind of been iconic for not being sober. I mean, his 2011 talk that we started with, where he's talking about tiger blood and winning, and I'm by winning and all of that stuff. Like, so he's kind of iconic for not being sober. And so I love that he's just so open about what worked in his sobriety. And yes, he went to AA and it didn't work for him, but he probably got a few nuggets from there that helped him. And then he got sober on his own, and he's coming up in December. It'll be 8 years sober. So I'm really happy that he's found what works for him. I love that he's sharing it with us. And I'm curious what you think. What do you think about, I guess, this video, Charlie Sheen, his sobriety, other paths to sobriety, trying it your own way? What's worked for you? Let's make this conversation super rich in the comments. Yeah. All right. I'll see you in the comments. And yeah, take care. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.